It's no secret that most dealers can benefit from a better Recon game. We're at NADA 2024, and here we're going to have a talk on just that.
Thanks everybody for joining us. My name is Anthony Greenoff. My background is predominantly in fixed, in parts and collision, and also in reconditioning. One of the things that happened at the store that I was in is I took the body shop over, and in the parking lot were a whole lot of vendors out there spending a whole lot of the sales department's money, and we weren't capturing that internally. And so I internalized all of it, and that's how I got on into the reconditioning side of things. So we'll talk a little bit about that today.
Everyone, I'm Anthony Martinez, and my background is in process improvement, process performance, quality control, and I had the pleasure of running the reconditioning center. I was hired in as an outside presence to help with lean and Six Sigma introduction into the manufacturing process for reconditioning.
Let's jump in. Thanks. All right. So building a reconditioning center. Anthony and I both work for a company that's heavily involved in reconditioning, and what we put together today is a list of the answers that come out of all the questions that we get asked. What should I really be focused on when I'm building a recon center? So the layout, the logistics of it, removing the obstacles, it's really what we specialize in, is removing the obstacles, and then the retention. We have made a lot of mistakes over the years. This will be my 32nd year in the automotive industry, and I've done a lot of stupid stuff. And I hope that I could keep you from doing some of that stupid stuff, and maybe you could do some of the right stuff that worked for me.
As Anthony mentioned, we do a lot of speaking engagements, and we try to collect the most common questions, the most often things asked us. We understand one of the big draws to these workshops are takeaways. What can you bring back? A lesson learned, best practice, maybe an interesting life hack kind of thing. So we're going to try to provide some of those. But we also want to give a blueprint and a roadmap for how to build your reconditioning operation. Not just if you have a separate giant $1 million facility, maybe you have just a couple stalls that you can do regular service there. What's important and how can you differentiate your recon process, and how do you make it a profit generating program as opposed to just an afterthought or additional duty.
I think you're probably going to hear some things that we're going to say, and you're going to be like, well, duh, like, I did that anyway, why do you need to tell me? But not everybody knows that, so you'll hear a few things like that as well. But our hope is that you could walk out of here with 6 to 10 things that you could apply at the store tomorrow. Okay. So let's talk about discovery. Go back to the store. What's this discovery look like? This looks a little antiquated. You see a bunch of sticky notes on a board. I did this. It's called my blue sky meeting. You get together with your decision makers and your team and get the people that are closest to the action in the room. The reconditioning technician, the internal service writer, the people that are dealing with all the crap they have to deal with day in and day out. And have a blue sky meeting. Pretend you have all the budget you need on the planet, and you have all the real estate you need on the planet, and what does your reconditioning process look like? And one of the things that I learned when we did this exercise was take the names off of the sticky notes. You want to write down Becky. Well, Becky might have some limitations. And when you build your blue sky reconditioning operation, you're not going to be looking at what her limitations are. Maybe Becky needs a different job in your dealership and somebody else would be better suited in there. This is a time for you to dream big, and then you can start backing in with, we have budget, realistically we have budget constraints, everybody does. We have real estate constraints, everybody does. We have people constraints, everybody does. But try and move those people around and build processes that people will work into, rather than trying to build processes into the people.
And identify the goal of the process. You want to make sure that you have a sustainable goal that you can measure from. Don't bring in a system or a program that this will make us faster. Okay, someone who abides by that is not going to be as goal-driven as a program or process that says this will get you frontline ready in under 4 days. Make that the goal and build the operation to that goal. Otherwise, you're just going to be part of the do better, get faster, be smarter crowd that doesn't really have measured goals. So when you're building your reconditioning center, you want to make sure that it can run as efficiently and autonomously as possible. Sometimes that means restricting access. You don't want to build an operation where everyone from the entire complex can just come in, go up to a mechanic, distract them, ask for subject updates, etc., or maybe taking photos. You let that happen, at that point you're feeding straight cat. Next thing you know, you're going to have salespeople bringing in prospects to look at a car under a rack. So you want to make sure that you somehow have an access control point. You want to service the customers, especially if your reconditioning operation also is customer led and may have customers that come in, but you want to make sure that there's a control point. Not just for efficiency, but also for accountability. There's going to be times where there's a key on a lockbox, or an important repair order, or a due bill, or something like that, where you don't want everyone to be able to walk by, elbow brushes sitting knocks behind the toolbox, not knowing where they are always. A best practice that I've seen is installing a drive-through window into the area where someone can come up and ask for questions, having an isolated checkpoint so they can get that information. Or even better, maybe some type of digital platform where you can see the status of each vehicle. So especially on the variable side, they're looking on when a vehicle will be ready, when it's properly ready to demo, etc. They can actually see the time on the ETA, rather than take the time to walk to the back of the building and take a technician off of his work, which we almost kiss the death every time the technicians are out of their day.
What was your drift to the driver window, right?
The driver, and they had to knock on the window, and that way it was controlled. And it actually served them better, because otherwise they were just walking around trying to find someone who knew what was going on. And if you treat, this kind of goes back to the theme that we folks have in reconditioning operation, you want to treat the used car team as your biggest customer. Well, you want to make sure your customer's informed. No different than customer pay, so asking for an update of, easy to look up, is what's going on with this car, it's been a couple days, servicing UCM and GSM, etc., and they just go to a window if they're physically in the area. It really helps. Hopefully, accountability too on keys on desks and things going missing, just having one stationary control point. So something you're going to say often is everything has a place, there's a place for everything. It's kind of derived from the 5S organization system, but it's very important because we're creatures of habit. You'd be surprised how easy it is to expect your staff to follow signs. It's park here, stand here. You'll find people's path of least resistance. They want to follow the instructions. So what you want to do is template and standardize as much as you can to include even where you park the vehicles. Now you want to, and we'll talk about this in a moment, you want to be able to be flexible for overflow, etc. But wouldn't it be great for a technician to leave this bay, know exactly where his or her car is, not have to worry about walking a lot, or how many times have you guys seen some walk around hitting the panic button, trying to figure out where the car's parked? But the technicians are trained, they're going to walk to and say, hey, that's where waiting on services, or the detailers, that's where it is for waiting on photography. A little easy to do, just take a Google Maps photo, throw a little overlay on it, put this up, hand it out to everyone, let everyone know this is where you want to park the vehicles. Something like this should be folded up and kept in a porter's pocket.
The best place for this map, if the men that are in the room will get this, but you go to a nice restaurant and above the urinals is a nice thing, this newspaper for you to read the news. You need a bulletin board in front of your urinals in your men's bathroom. They'll actually read that while they're doing that. If you hang it up in the hallway, they don't see it.
So that's the one thing.
Yeah, I'll talk about this. So did this in the store that I was in. I had some signs made up, and I put them in the lot. And these signs they're mobile. So originally I took a whole of sign and I put it in a 3-gallon bucket. I'm from Utah. It snows. We gotta move stuff around, and they worked pretty good. Talk about some dumb stuff I did. Putting this in a 3-gallon bucket in a windstorm was a $600 policy adjustment across the hood of a CTS. That fast. 5-gallon bucket. No wind damage. So, use a 5-gallon bucket, make these things mobile. The nice part about it being mobile too is you can expand your lot, right? If detail really gets back up, you might have to move the sign down and you might have to move mechanical up a little bit, but these can be moved around. We went out to a Ford dealer up in California, and they had done this with sandwich boards. And as I'm standing out in the parking lot, down goes the sandwich board. Or worse, somebody picks up the sandwich board, they put it in a closet, and it never comes out again. So these are a little bit more expensive, but the pole, the 5-gallon bucket stuff.
And there's going to be ebb and flow in your process. There's going to be times where you just have, like a snake swallowing a grapefruit. You're just going to have a bottleneck that moves along the process. So we want that flexibility to move the signs. Similar situation in Florida, so it's nice to have little signs to bring in for all of our hurricanes and all of our hurricane prep. But the most important part is to adjust for the overflow, because the first time someone parks in something that is not under the sign, you challenge the integrity of that process. Well, like everybody parks in detail, but it's not ready for detail. Well, I don't know where else to park. We're able to move those signs out. What a great experience for someone that's not even being plugged in to walk the lot and quickly identify where your bottlenecks are. Wow, nothing in detail, but look at all those video inspections. You can make adjustments on the phone. Just walk the lot, looking at where everything's parked.
That's beautiful.
Okay. This can be controversial. There are pros and cons to it. So I wish I could tell you, get this or don't. Obviously, affordability, I don't know if you do want to invest in that. So here, and I've worked in both. So the pros are efficiency of throughput. It is a really powerful tool to speed up the detailing process. But there are caveats to that. When it goes down, it causes a lot of problems. It can also cause a choke point if everybody's in line trying to get through the car wash. It's also a problem if a car dies with a dead battery in the car wash. And everyone knows about the engine rims and wipers and things like that. But if you're a high volume store that's going to push through, or you don't have a process of manpower for like a wash and back or detail delivery type of environment, car wash station is great. My recommendation would be, if you are looking to get one or have one, have pre-stations ready so you're not clogging up the line. Okay, think like your Chick-fil-A. You're taking a lot of those places, you're getting your order through in the line while you're waiting. Same thing should be done in a car wash. Have a station, get one of those like tailgate tents, like, okay, this is where you're going to spray the wheel beforehand. This is where you're going to take off the antenna. This is where you're going to do this or whatever to prep the car so that you don't have someone doing that in the line waiting. Just keep it efficient and make sure you have a process on standby for when that machine goes down, because inevitably that machine will go down. Okay, this is kind of connected to that. So, you know, the big pro to have a central vacuum system is what a great space saver. It is a lot more predictable, and if you're in a pinch and you have to cram different types of vendors or employees servicing different types of functions that would need vacuum, you can do that there. The con to this is it goes down, you're all down. So I would still recommend, even if you are getting a central vac system, to still have some shop vacs on standby. One of the advantages of shop vacs are, you know, when it goes down, you still have X amount left. And you can find a lot of shop vacs from hardware stores with lifetime warranties. So if that motor goes out, which it will, if you're high volume, you can just go ahead and turn it, you know, swap it out into a new one. But if you're short on space and you're co-locating your vendors, the shop vac is a great way to go.
It's Ryobi, right? It's got a lifetime warranty.
Rigid.
So Anthony told me that last week. I never knew it. I can't tell you how many of those things I bought and then threw away and then went back to Home Depot and got more. But apparently Rigid's got a lifetime warranty if you can think about the Home Depot. So take that back to your store.
If you haven't installed one yet, or if you're about to get a whole bunch of shop vacs and set up, make sure you're paying attention to the electrical load. Those motors take a lot of electricity, so if you haven't planned for that, you get a lot of breaker trips.
Detail and photos. This is one of those things where you're like, duh, like, but detail and photos should be combined. One of the things that we did not do well initially was we detailed the car, we pushed it outside, and then somebody from photography came and got the car and they shot photos of it. We live in Utah, it snows, it rains, just like everywhere else, and the cars were dirty, and so our go-to-market photos were not as good as they could be until we put ourselves in a situation where the photo booth was literally in the same space as the detail bay. These cars went right from the detail bay into the photo spot, and the reconditioning technicians were actually paid a flat rate to shoot these photos. I didn't have a photo photographer that came around so you get out of your head, but they didn't come around once a week and take my shitty photos. They came every single day. It was this photos were getting shot.
And if you're eager for time to market, we have a lot of customers in our experience. People like to take photos right away as soon as the car drops. They'll take some initial ones and then supplement those afterwards once the car's completely detailed. Well, once you do that, you're on a time clock, because you definitely don't want to showcase a demo vehicle that's not done yet. At that point, you're handing out photos, and your customer's seeing it in its superior state. So if you are going to take your market photos early, before details, pay attention to the cycle time of how long it takes to complete. This clock is ticking.
This is me. So in your reconditioning facility, you need to make sure that you've got really access to the parts. That if you're stocking anything for Recon, that it's a dedicated spot, that you've got dedicated staging for it. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but if you're a CPO dealership, make sure you got tires on hand. Some tire companies will do consignment. We have a tire company close to us that did consignment for us. Anthony, you got some stuff on this aftermarket co-location.
Yeah, that really helped. Partnering up with aftermarket, AutoZone and places like that, having someone, because they got so much business from them, we asked for them to have someone stationed with us, co-located in our facility. They worked out for both of us. They made great money, put some pressure on for our own parts pricing, and they act as a conduit for even our own internal pricing. For parts we were able to get them to full parts for us that were ours, just to have the luxury of working with. But that's clutch, because that allows you to give your used car team, the authority, a good, better, best situation. You're able to provide, look, if you want it done with this part, this OEM part, etc., or I can go aftermarket, I can go to LKQ, but because you have someone right there on the spot, you can give options, which allow the decision maker to make how much money's in the vehicle to make that call.
And make that dedicated. I said it earlier, but I don't think I drove it home enough. If LKQ shows up and drops a part off and your stock crew is checking in a stock order, especially if you're a large wholesale operation, you're not going to see that part for a day and a half. You're going to wonder where it's at. It's been sitting back there for, last 36 hours. So dedicated.
And parts procurement rarely have, milestones or metrics that are called on outside of pulling parts up.
My background is in parts, so I will be the first to attest to this. The parts department is the last department to be held accountable for an internal reconditioning process. They are, and I was this guy. You want it or don't? I got it on the shelf, and I special order. And man, was that a game changer when I got into reconditioning management that just does not fly.
Later on, we're going to talk a little bit about guidelines, but this is a good segue into that too, because if you're holding your reconditioning staff accountable for time, how long it's taking to get from acquisition frontline or whatever, include the parts department, because we always say a part that arrives is not necessarily here.
Yeah, just because of parts here doesn't mean it's necessarily arrived.
Correct, and you don't want to create a scenario back to what I said earlier, where mechanics are having to look for parts, go back, to the parts department to see if their work is in yet. Everything should be given to the mechanic. Everything should be about keeping the mechanic at the car. Anytime that mechanic stays or steps away from his day, his or her day, and goes and tries to look for a part, tries to get extra approval, you're just wasting money.
No unapplied time.
Okay, so when you're looking at having a type of lean environment, I would recommend just going into your shop during a busy time and just sitting and observing. Take a look at, is everything in the most efficient place it can be? Imagine you're preparing a Thanksgiving dinner. Well, you wouldn't have the prep in one room, and then you have the turkey in another room, and then you have the vegetables in a basement, because that's a lot of wasted movement. Think of the same thing. You want to have that even flow. So if you've got a tire machine in the back corner of your service bay, everyone has to cross paths to include walking past people about to back out of the lifts, about to get on the test drives. All of that time accumulates. So you want to pay attention. What's commonly used? If it's commonly used by everyone, just move it right there. And sometimes some of that simple stuff isn't thought about. A lot of times people will go with aesthetics, like, oh, that's ugly, and get in the back. And sometimes you move it away from like the nuts and the lug nuts and some of the extra parts and the tire weights, and you'd be surprised that it's not anywhere in the machine itself. So I use the tire machine as an example, but that can be said about any machinery that you keep in your shop. How accessible is it?
Like a quick exercise that's really been beneficial in your next manager's meeting, plan like a 15-minute intro and take the entire management team and do a dealership walk. Me walking into my collision center every single day, I'd see something there, and pretty soon it just became wallpaper. It was always there, it belonged there. But the second my service manager walked in and he saw it, and he's like, what is that doing there? Like, that needs to be over here next to this guy. Because guess what? Techs don't really talk about that stuff, but they'll certainly complain to you about how inefficient it is. Your job as a department head is to remove obstacles and let your your other managers help you with that. They see stuff you don't because you walk past it every single day. And by the way, I wanted to bring up these tire carts. You can buy something pretty inexpensive on Amazon for right around 150 bucks. You can buy the actual real ones for about 600, which it sounds expensive, but how many of you have walked into your service bay and you got technicians doing this, right? And then he goes back and he comes back and he's doing the same damn thing again. You got 2 trips back to the parts counter to get 4 tires is a ridiculous waste of resources. You only have one thing that you can sell in that service department, and that is time. Just a quick pro tip here. If you do internalize your cosmetic reconditioning, if you're lucky enough to have a collision center there, make sure that your collision and your cosmetic and your mechanical are separated. There are silicon products that are used in a lot of mechanical repairs, and they are detrimental to paint. I've seen people put together recon facilities and completely miss this, or think that like an overhead door that separates the 2 departments is going to work. Silicone does not care, and it will get right into your paint. You'll be dealing with fish eyes and blown up paint for all time. So make sure that those departments are definitely separated, not just by an overhead.
Or airborne metal shavings that land on a wool buffer pad.
Yeah, that's never happened.
Yeah, so.
Or a wool buffer pad that got set in metal shavings.
So hazmat storage. A lot of our customers will subscribe to third-party vendors that will help them keep OSHA compliant and hazmat. And a lot of the rules are very simple. You know, having the label station of where the binder goes and having your wash stations, et cetera. But it's really hard to manage and ensure safety from a desk building down. So I highly recommend that you designate somebody who's on the floor that you can trust to be there and understand the protocols and SOPs and make them a safety officer. Every shop should have a safety officer. That's not the manager. Maybe you pick a lead foreman, maybe you pick a lead detailer, somebody who's there every day that can call that out and make sure that you're doing drills. You know, a lot of people can see what the eye wash station is. They're looking at, well, yeah, you might have your safety brief. Well, that's great. Well, now you have a piece of metal in your eye to continue where your safety goggles and your cannon game. Are you going to remember where it runs to? So maybe you guys walk through and say, hey, look, just in your eye, let's patch real quick. We hit, show them how you work it, et cetera. And that way, everyone is a little more familiar with where they are, the eye wash stations, and the first aid kits. And not only that, but everyone's kind of standardized, so if someone is blinded, other people can guide them to exactly how to operate the safety. If you are building a new conditioning operation, plan to expand. Okay, you may start off with, hey, we're just doing really easy work. It's not like we're dropping transmissions or rebuilding engines, or hey, we're just washing the cars. But plan to expand. You may end up having a detail station where you're going to do high-end buffing. You may have more accessories. We talk a lot about internalizing a lot of your vendor work. This is an example. Building a ventilator spray area. That takes a lot of effort and a lot of regulation. So pay attention to that. If you're going to bring in window tinting or have a vendor come in to co-locate with you, make sure you have space available and make sure you know where you want to put them. So A, they're accessible, but also not in the way.
And the spray ventilators are probably one of the, if you internalize it, it's one of the least expensive ways to dress up a truck. I mean, they're cheaper than a drop-in if you're doing it internally, and just about every truck needs one. So.
And we do recommend sending your staff to get certified and trained to keep that money in-house, why pay a vendor, and offer more opportunities for that vehicle to leave the lot.
All right, let's talk a little bit about energy access. When you are laying out your reconditioning facility, I see a lot of people put Recon's over there in the corner, we got detail over here in this corner, and they leave like all the plumbing where it exists today, all the plugs where it exists today. Remember, your job is to remove inefficiencies. Paying a contractor a couple grand to come out and run a new electrical drop or an air drop to get that access closer to the car so that your tech isn't walking back and forth between the wall 45 times a week. We're going to get into something here in a little bit, but we did a case study and it improved our efficiency by 9%, and I'll go over that here in a bit. But bring the tools that your team needs to the car, to your team.
So climate control, obviously morale and efficiency can be dictated by the comfort level of your staff. So take the time to understand Is it too cold? Is it too hot? Doesn't mean you have to install air conditioning systems. No, you can bring the company's name, big gas fans.
Big gas fans?
Yeah, it's just a giant propeller on the ceiling and it moves air, but it doesn't disrupt. But do your best to make it comfortable. Make sure if the water fountain, somebody supposed the water fountain going down, not compressing anymore, so you get warm water. That could be the difference of a lot of efficiency. So keeping the climate control is really going to help. And it's going to avoid those who are escaping work and hiding in a car while it's running in the lot just to soak up some of the AC.
You would know that from Florida.
Yeah.
Choose your color. So when you're building your reconditioning facility or your shop facility for that matter, the light really does matter. If you're in a cosmetic environment, you're going to want bright walls, right? It's much easier to see what's going on the outside of the car in a bright wall. You put that in a detail bay, and that wall is going to be black in 3 minutes. So you can see if this is an actual facility out of a dealer out of Arizona. They've done gray up to about this high up the wall. This is the mechanical portion of the facility. You get over to the cosmetic station, and it's all white.
I would say too, for your higher end vehicles where you have that perfect clean, that really perfect buff, I would invest in some low hanging lights because a lot of times the lighting from the roof won't be enough or might just be too much of a glare. But if you get some inexpensive like fluorescent bulbs and have just harness over and change just hanging, just so it's maybe 2 to 3 feet above the vehicle, that's really going to help. Maybe even some of those construction lights you can get from Home Depot or Lowe's, and that way the detail can move it around as they work in. It can give them a real good idea of sheets so they can catch defects in their work. So security measures. Too often, in my experience, we have had vehicles where the keys were locked into the vehicle. And actually, this happened a lot during the car wash, when I from the previous slide, because they'd be prepping the car wash and leave the vehicles in, while they're spraying tires or whatever, and then we get locked. And that would shut down our car wash, because now we have a vehicle blocking it. So instead of calling on locks with as much money as that cost us, I realized it'd be smarter to train a manager. So we registered for the ability to get a locksmith kit, which was not difficult at all, just have to prove where you worked, etc. And we got a locksmith kit, and we taught ourselves how to use the ladder and everything, and the flat.
Jimmy.
Or the long pole you can bend by using the ladder, and you can quickly open the door. And that's not only did it save us some money, but we didn't have to wait hours for a locksmith to show up. So I would have a designated individual. Now, keep in mind, you have to register for the locksmith kit, and so you have to keep it in a secure environment. But I would also make sure too, like, no keys laying around. Make sure if you don't have like a key track type of system, that you have some type of lockbox. And I would treat the dealer place the same way. The dealer place should be secure. Maybe you can use some type of RFID system, or at a minimum, have it be checked out so someone's name so they're accountable.
When you were like jimmying open doors, did you charge the sales department for that? Or they locked the keys in the car?
No, and I feel silly now, and even worse, when it happened on the sales line, they called us in to do it, so we became the in-house locksmith. But I preferred it because, we were able to take more attention to detail. Locksmith just come in and do all that, so we were smart to put rags there because we were ultimately responsible for any scratches. But it was a great idea, and it saved us a lot of money. I highly recommend it. It's not as hard as you think it is. Sometimes convertibles can be tough, right? So yeah, and lock and key boxes themselves. Would you rather have your mechanics lock keys and documents in their lockbox, or an assured one that we can access? So again, path of least resistance. If you don't provide one, it'll be in the lockbox. So make sure that you have something where maybe there's like a double key one in the main office and one on that person, so that we can keep track of keys and sensitive items like scanners. That's a big sensitive item. You don't want just laying on someone's bench.
Definitely.
Okay, so this is back to everything has a place, every place has a thing. You want to standardize, and a lot of people who may have digital workflow solutions or some type of linear process of, okay, from here to here to here. But too often people don't match up the different criteria or triggers to move the vehicle forward. And what I mean by that is maybe a mechanic is done with their inspection and they just put it into service. But you haven't had the approval yet, RO is not even turned in, and I'm not, he's just a black box. So what we can have is determine what is this particular, what are the requirements for this particular step. So if we were to say in detail, for a car to be in detail, I would require that the keys need to be in the office, that the RO needs to be in the wash bay, the vehicle needs to be in the wash bay, and that the instructions for the customer have something to do with the detail. Once all that criteria is matched, then it is in the detail phase. And that's going to help you by having these triggers so that everyone can understand it, especially if you have people's pay plans tied to time. Hey, you're not done yet. The RO isn't turned in. You don't have the supplies or mechanic being service. I would say parts are in the bin. So don't put it on the mechanic, it's actually on the parts program. And so we want to make sure that if you have some type of digital tracking solution, you're matching it with the physical world. Where's the key, where's the repair, or instructions, where's the person, where's the vehicle part. Once all those are aligned, the whole thing can move to the next step.
Parts taken. I see this all the time, and I was guilty of it too as a counterman. But part would come in, I throw it up on the counter, just hope the tech would stop back by when he was ready to work on that car and pick the part up. This is an actual shop out of a Ford dealer out of Woods Cross, Utah. And what they've done is, as the cars come into their reconditioning process, they have a certain set of parts that go on every single car. Oil filter, wiper blades, in-cabin air filter, depending on the mileage of the car. But the parts department's notified right when that car comes in, and they gather those parts, they put them on a bin, and they dry erase the RO number on the bin. And the counterman, believe it or not, walks the parts out, or a delivery person, and they put them on this rack that's sitting between two reconditioning bays right here. And as the parts come in for the repair, they still go in that same bin. When the bin's done, just like TSA, they take it out, they put it on the cart, and they wheel them back to the parts department. Deliver the parts to your techs. Your techs will run back and forth between parts way too often. You know that, you see it. I'd much rather have a tech in his stall than a counterman sitting at his counter on the phone.
I think of your cost of labor. You know, what's more expensive? A parts runner running parts to tech, or having that tech walk around these days? Who's more expensive? So implementing a shipping and receiving policy. So when we consult with customers who have a digital workflow, one of the biggest things that they come across is the vehicle's on the property, but they didn't know about it yet. And so the biggest advice we give to everyone is include the person checking in the car. If it's a porter, up to a manager. Make sure that they have access to whatever digital workflow or whatever process you have so that that car can be marked as soon as it hits the ground. It's also a great way to make sure no one's getting any day plans, because sometimes you catch people like, obviously, the car don't even check in until I'm ready. We get some of these other ROs down, and when I'm ready, we'll say, get you started. Well, that didn't help the general manager, that didn't help the dealer, because they were paying holding costs on the car, not getting touched the whole time. So you want to actually begin the process of reconditioning the moment the vehicle hits your lot, or if it's traded, the moment the vehicle is cleared. There's even some best practices we can give. We'll have to go on how to get ahead of the curve on trade-ins, waiting for it to be cleared. What kind of work can be done that doesn't hurt you in lines, but still gets you ahead of the game if it goes through that process.
The people closest to the action should be the one arriving in the car. If they're checking in the car, they're arriving. If you're on CDK, they're putting it should already be in the EMS if you're buying it. When it arrives, when they arrive at the car, they should be the one checking it in. If you're stamping a piece of paper and putting it in somebody's inbox, you're already buying.
And that's when the clock should start too. The clock should start the moment they check in. So more on that. And the check-in, if you choose the right individual responsible for that, can actually be really ahead of the game. You know, a lot of times we promote the use of what's called a chaser. And a chaser is really a liaison between the sales department and the service department. It's someone that can provide lower level approvals so that that service desk manager, the sales desk manager can stay at the desk and not to come back and forth for everyone. But it's also that role as a facilitator. It's a facilitator to understand, hey, this is going to need to be done. Let me go ahead and get all of these things in order. Lead time is a killer. If you know you have to replace a windshield, you know you have to replace a bumper, allow that to be called out and automatically approved at the time of walk around. So if you have an individual doing a walk around, they have a digital solution on them, and they're trying to figure out what needs to be done. They label the stuff. It can already be communicated to the parts department, and you have an edge on getting that part ordered. And chances are that part might even be in and already approved to be in before it even hits the text bay.
the chaser at my store worked for the used car department. His office was in my collision center. And he had the right to take the cars out. Like if we got bottlenecked and that inventory wasn't going to get to the front line fast enough, he actually had the authority to pull the cars out and sell them. And that scared the hell out of me. And so it made it a real priority to keep those cars moving and make him happy. But it was a really good business practice because he also had the authority to make some approvals. If it wasn't over a certain threshold, we could go to him and get that approval immediately.
Best person to recruit for this is perhaps a junior sales leader who understands the practice. Maybe even from the fixed side, you could promote maybe a senior lot porter who wants to get their foot into sales and start pricing. It's a great opportunity to understand how it all works. Or maybe an inventory manager would be a great person. It's also a great person to rally up the sales porters to bring all the cars back up that are complete, just to have someone in the pocket like that. And if you're not going to use a chaser, who can physically look at the car and vouch for the approvals, and you want to speed up your approval process, use photos and videos. Don't put your used car manager or approving authority to have to ask the question, how bad is it? Is it seeping or is it actually leaking? What are we talking about? What's the real tread depth? Because they're just going to see something on paper or something on email. They're not really getting interested. Use photos, use videos. Try to keep, just like you want to keep that tech in the day, you want to keep that used car manager at the sales desk. Because this deals is their priority. They shouldn't be distracted by who all the used car.
Oh, this is big. This is another one of those things where like, duh, but this is a screenshot of a map. This is the area, the store that I actually worked in. The reconditioning facility was down here on the left-hand side, lower corner. This road right here, where this starts, this was the shittiest road we could find, man. This thing had potholes in it, all kinds of damage on it, and it was perfect. Because you take that car down there, and they can shake down the front end without the car even being in the air. And then they can rock around, hit the freeway, come back, and get fuel, and come back right here. But make sure this is standard. Every car gets this same test, right? So you're identifying all that damage there.
I recommend to having a map, just depending on the customer concern. If the vehicle is returned back to reconditioning for issues at high speeds that hear this noise, make sure you have a backup for a highway drive. But that needs to be the backup, and everyone should understand the trade-off for the customer.
Well, fun stuff. All right. I don't know if any of you have seen me speak before. I live and die by this thing. This I don't have anything to do with the company that sells this, but I'm going to give you their name. The name is Innovative Tools. It was originally a body shop car. Now, I improved my detailer's efficiency by 90%. That's one more car per detailer per week. And what we did is we took all of those supplies, put them on the cart, and the detailer could roll them to the car. I originally had locking cabinets where people walk back and forth to locking cabinets all day, and it's just super inefficient. This is a really, really good way to create some instant efficiency in the store, right, in the shop.
And there's this program we call variable detailing. And we have a lot of customers that we work with in the stores we've seen where maybe there's just a flat rate built into each sort of pack. I'll give you an X amount for detailing. And it doesn't really accommodate whether or not 6 hours is needed or 2 hours are needed. Also, it doesn't really give the sales department a sense of I'm getting what I'm paying for. So I recommend variable detailing. And where it comes to relevance to this part is, in variable detailing, what you want to do is you want to have a walk around, cosmetic walk around. Great opportunity to do it is when you're getting the mechanical inspection done. Who better than the mechanic right there in front of it? And annotate, kind of like you can do for a rental car. What do you see? You see scratches, is there smoke odor, is there glitter, is there pet hair, etc. And what you're doing is then you're assigning a stage to that. And you can work it both ways. On the sales end, they're saying menu pricing. This is a 6-hour car to complete. Each hour costs this much. So you know what you're paying for and know what to expect. On the fixed ops end, that detailer understands what needs to happen to the vehicle and can stock that car appropriately. They can also manage their time. For example, maybe you get something nice from the auction that just needs a washing back. Well, you can skip over the 6-hour cars and give a couple of those washing backs because you know they're only 2-hour vehicles or a lower level vehicle, and you can squeeze them in the same day, not let them rotate or wait in line overnight or even worse over the weekend if you want a weekend cosmetic work. So paying attention to that assignment and the detail knows how much they're going to get paid. You know, the difference between a washing back from an auction or a family van with crayons, things everywhere, and gum stuff in it, makes the difference, especially if they're having to use different tools. Odor removal, steaming the carpets, chemical stain removal. Again, you're minimizing the walk back and forth. Detail gets the ticket, okay, to stage 6, inside and out, you can grab it and right now, put it on the cart.
One of the things that's hard to see in this picture because it's a little blurred, but there are tags under where each item should go, and every cart should be standard with all of the supplies. And you might have one detailer that thinks that they want to use X, Y, and Z product, and another detailer that wants to use A, B, and C product. No. We use these products. Your vendors will actually come out. I switched from what I consider to be a economy brand to 3M, and the 3M rep came out constantly and made sure that my team was trained. And that was all part of me just spending money on that business. And the biggest thing that they taught was how to use a little bit of product, which I was really surprised. I thought they would want us to use more, but they want to keep our business. 3M will come out and teach your technicians how to use their stuff. And when I say you standardize these cards, you should have a supply sergeant. Now, this can be somebody that has another job somewhere else in the dealership, but one of their responsibilities is to check these cards daily and make sure they're full. And when they deliver the supplies to these carts, they take them out of the packages and they shelve them. You put them in a box, your detailer's going to work out of that box. Another strength with these carts is you'll notice there's no flat surfaces here that are solid. And the buffing pads are up off the ground. I can't tell you how many times we've had a detailer pick up a buffing pad and forget to brush it off, and it's got debris in it, and they put it right on the top of that black hood. In it goes. Now it's got to go down to the paint shop. These racks keep that stuff off the surface, keep those debris out.
To make all of this work, there's one key point. Transfer the payment of your detailers from an hourly rate to a flat rate. Pay them like you would a mechanic. If it's 6 hours, they get 6 units of X pay. That way they're more motivated to get the faster and make sure all their stuff is there. Otherwise, you may have hourly employees that you might be paying just to check Instagram or hide the bathroom or whatnot. So you want to make sure that they're incentivized just like you would a mechanic.
I'll move fast. I know we're up against the clock here. Something that I did in the cards is I created like a little 3.5 by 5 card index card, and all of the supplies were on those cards. And on the back of that card was the cart number. So when the technician needed more of something, maybe it might be a little bit low, he just pulled the card out and he put it in the front of that card holder. And when the supply sergeant came by, reached into the front of the card holder, already had his order in his hand. He knew that cart 1 needed these supplies, and when he would check them in, he would use those as his check-in sheet. Let's talk a little bit about keeping some revenue in-house. There's a few things that you can do that you absolutely don't have to sublet, but I see sublet all the time. PDR is a tough one. I hear a lot. I don't want to train up a PDR tech and then have them go blow out and do their own gig. There is NED is probably going to shoot me for this, but I don't know the name. There's a company out of California that I used called King, D-I-N-G-K-I-N-G, and they had a retrain guarantee. It was the only reason that I picked them over some other company somewhere else in the country. And I sent a tech out there to train him up for 4 years, and then he decided, I'm going to go be a sculptor. And his apprentice, I sent him back out to Dean King, and they retrained him. So I used that retrain guarantee. I recommend them just for that reason, and they were excellent. So PDR is something that you certainly can't internalize. I got into, at the time, it's been about 10 years now, but all of the tools that I needed for interior and PDR, also windshield chip repair, cost me 10 grand. So the shop was,
you know, money in the house.
Yeah.
You know, and just like the variable detailing of vehicles, you should have variable detailers. And you can have this is a level 1 detailer. Well, they're just trained to really handle new car inspections and cleaning. You get your level 2 with level 2, and then you get your level 3. Now, this is where you're getting into some of these people you have special training on. So that level 3 detailer at a higher pay rate can also handle low-level PDR. They can also handle odor removal, blackout, headlight restoration. And so that motivates your staff to want to aspire to get certified and more. And every time you get another detailer certified, or maybe they're at a rate, well, how much money are you saving from not having to use a vendor?
A technician can buy a windshield chip repair kit, a really nice one, on Amazon for a couple $100. Does his windshield chip repair, puts the UV light on, plugs it in, throws the car up in the air, and pulls the oil drain plug. I mean, he's kind of double dipping a little bit, but he's getting your windshield chips done and he's getting your oil change done all at the same time. I did this. Now, it's not my photo because the photo above the bathroom stall in my body shop did not look anything this cool, like this cool. But we talked a little bit about inefficiencies that slow people down, and this small stuff matters. Change 1,000 things 1%. You don't need to change one thing 1,000%. I see so many people go, that's not gonna matter. Yes, it matters. My problem was I had one bathroom with one stall, and my shop is about 6 times the size of this hall. And for some reason, somebody thought it would be a great idea to have the bathroom all the way at that end. And so my painters would walk all the way across my shop, they BS with the people over their weekend, and by the time they got to the bathroom, somebody was in there doing whatever they do in there. And they had to walk all the way back. It was the biggest loss of inefficiency that was completely controllable that I could think of. So I had maintenance come in and just put a light above the bathroom door, tie it to the light switch in the bathroom, and put a motion sensor in the bathroom. So when somebody's in there, they can see it. Now my point isn't fix your bathroom, but my point is little things matter. When you're stocking the paper for the printer in the office, when you put the reams out, the second to last ream gets a sticky that says order more paper. And so when they put that in, somebody will put that on the receptionist's desk and he can go get another thing of paper rather than wait until it's all out. Those little things, as you walk through your shop and you think, this isn't gonna matter, it totally matters. Your job is to remove the obstacles that slow your team down. You can't drag somebody into your office and kick their butt for not working hard enough or fast enough until you've done this. It's your responsibility to make sure that nothing's in their way.
Nothing we suggested today will make their bench turn faster, or a buffer pad through sooner, or a car wash through sooner. What we're about is eliminating the non-value added time. It's that dead time in between. That's where you get your 9, 14-day stores down under 3 days. From the moment it hits wheels to your lot to when you have it on sales lot.
Also save your head count. I learned that the hard way.
Kill the dead time. You want to have non-value, just like when you have a mechanic unapplied time. Same principle. Unapplied time across your entire facility. Attack it.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to combine this with something else I really wanted to bring up. One of the biggest questions I was asked is, what would you say is the most important thing about a recon center, recon process? And I always give the same answer. Have a dedicated staff. If you are combining your reconditioning, your internal work with your customer pay, you're going to bump the customer pay up ahead of the internal. It's just human nature because you have a body laying waiting. You want to service them, and maybe you're concerned about your survey, etc. But keep in mind, used car department is your biggest customer. So have a dedicated staff, even if it's an additional duty. You don't have the luxury of extra people in an extra facility. Have a team that understands that, hey, service writer, you're also responsible for internal work. Hire used car technicians. Don't get a technician that you spend so much money on certifying so many levels, and when you can recruit someone that just understands all makes and models, you really want that person that can hear an engine and know what's wrong. So go for the experience and the resume over the certifications when dealing with fast internal work. One of the ways to motivate them is not just on gross, but on time. That's what matters. One of the benefits to having a pay plan attributed to time for your recon staff is it takes a lot of the animosity between sales and service. Because now sales is like, oh, you're just fluffing tickets, you get more hours, etc. And everyone's on the understanding that, hey, I get paid by the speed of this. You want to wholesale it? That's on you. I'm here to help you resell it. You're just going to help my game. So, I would recommend if you have a recon manager or someone responsible for it, have tiers. This is your pay plan, this is your spiff under 7 days, under 5 days, under 3 days. Have escalators. If it's under 3 days and we sell this many cars, you have this percentage higher than that. That way you keep them in sync. And that's how you get a really good shorthand language between the used car team and the recon team. There's no one accusing the other of like, you don't prove anything, you just want the tickets, you don't anything. So you can kind of cut through that by understanding pay plans, motivate, or just something other.
And we were talking about putting your parts people on the same type of an incentive that you do your service writer and your technician, so the priority goes all the way across the fixed variable.
Absolutely. And I do recommend a trigger for unit sold. You do not want a recon center that everyone got double their spiffs because they were so fast. The dealership didn't sell anything that month.
Because part of the crowd.
Right.
Yeah,
So it kind of keeps everybody a little bit of checks and balances. So many cars have to be sold for this to be in effect. So now it's the recon department is incentivized to get the cars out faster at a quality rate because you want to rotate that.
That's it.
All right. So I know we talked fast.
Yeah, just to get to that, because we're on this clock. Questions? Back here.
So again, if you can't have a dedicated staff, at least have a dedicated process. Maybe you have 8 stalls and you decide, you know what, that last stall is going to be your internal. Keep it at that last stall. That way you can have that person accountable. You know, are you have to bump it for them to take on customer pay? Yeah, but what I see doesn't work is when you have all of your technicians and they have customer pay and internal work in your truck. Meanwhile, used car departments trying to chase the order of wondering why it's taking 3 or 4 days just to do this. Well, nothing against the tech, you just kept getting big jobs from customer pay. So if you can't have the facility or a separate staff, at least designate certain individuals and say, you're the internal. And then rewrite your pay plan. This is what you get for customer pay, but also this is what you get for the speed of your internal work. That's going to help you too, because if you have the same staff doing the estimates, they're going to start to understand what the used car manager would approve, or the general manager would approve. And at that point, you're going to start to see more estimates get passed and approved the first time you go. Because, you know, you put a green tech there or someone with full certification, they're going to what it takes to make the car brand new. And that's not what used car managers always into, especially a high mileage vehicle.
Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, thanks for your attention.
Thank you. All right, this was a great talk on Recon. A couple of things I just want to add in, just for your own knowledge. It's important to get your Recon game on because I've seen stores lose deals because it's taken them 2-3 weeks sometimes to get the cars through the shop. Also, you cut down on your inventory carrying costs when you button this up. The tire dolly is a great idea for a couple of reasons. One is it makes it more efficient, okay? And 2, you're gonna have less workman's comp claims. Bending over and rolling tires, sometimes one of your technicians can throw his back out. By having this as a standardized process with the dolly, I think that's gonna definitely improve things. I love the idea about having a locksmith kit on hand for a couple of reasons. For one, when you do the keys in-house, it literally is a fraction of what it would cost you to do them if you had to get them, you know, through the parts department, through your OEM. I'm not saying it's necessarily 100% the same quality part, because in all likelihood it's probably not, but it will get the job done on a used car. So that cuts down on waiting for the key guy to come in, cuts down on that cost. And also it's going to help with CSI, okay? It's very common today to buy a used car and only get one key with it. Customer gets pissed off, they come back, they want another key, they end up spending $300, $400, $500 depending on the OEM. If you have your own key process in-house, you can ensure that every used car goes out with 2 keys, and it will be a fraction of what it would cost you ordinarily, which again gives you improved CSI. As far as the layout of the shop is concerned and the light for the bathroom, I think that's brilliant. Layout has contributed to happier employees, less unapplied time. Okay, these are common sense things that a lot of people just don't think about. But if you lay it out, if you lay out the workspace for your employees so that it makes it easier for them to get to do the job, and you have that cart where you have all the parts for the car that's in process there in a central location, again, all to speed up time, reduce unapplied time, and get the car over the curb faster. The part about putting the sticky note when you're at the second to last part, that's a great idea. You can also leverage AI. If you inventory the items that are on the cart, you should be able to put together some kind of a tracking system using AI where you can automatically generate the replenishment process without having to tie up an employee to do that. And then the last thing I want to touch on is a suggestion on flat rate for recon techs. I'm not sure I agree with that 100%, because there's a lot of talk about flat rate these days and not all of it good. Really depends on the store, depends on the techs you have. In some it works beautifully, in others it's a nightmare. So you have to assess your own situation as far as that's concerned. Hope you got a lot out of this. I know I did. Some great ideas that you can implement at your store today. So lots more great stuff coming from NADA 2024. Thanks for watching.